Welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I am your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God has a master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The Society is an interdenominational, religious, spiritual organization. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common. And that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. We know that there is indeed an almighty being. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed Almighty. Today is April the 27th, 2017. I remind you of that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. And I remind you of that fact because this show is an open discussion. It's a two-way conversation. You see the telephone number that's on your screen. I invite you to use that number and call in. If there's something that's going on in your church, your synagogue, your mosque, your masjid, your temple, your place of worship, and you want to let the world know about it, call in and let the world know about it. If there's something that's going on in your nonprofit organization and you want to let the world know about it, call in and let the world know about it. More important than what's going on in your place of worship, at least to me, more important than that, more important than what's going on in your nonprofit organization, if there's something that God has done for you in your life, a miracle that God has worked in your life, and I use that word literally, a miracle that God has worked in your life, because the God that I'm here to tell you about is working miracles here in the year 2017. April 27th, 2017, the God I'm here to tell you about is working miracles. So if God has worked a miracle in your life, you know, it may have been some health problems that you had, and you tried all different types of medication, all different types of doctors and surgeons and everything else, and it didn't work. But God worked a miracle in your life, healed your body. Call in and share your testimony with the world. Let the world know that God is still working miracles today. Hearing your testimony about how God worked a miracle in your life, that might be the one thing that someone that's watching this show right now, the one thing that they need to hear that will encourage them, give them strength, help them to hold on until things get better. So call in and share your testimony with the world. And that's right, you hear me, I keep saying, share it with the world, because as I speak right now, this show is being seen not only here in the city of New Orleans, not only in the state of Louisiana, not only in the United States of America, but as I speak right now, this show is being seen live around the world. All of you that are watching on Facebook right now, welcome, and I invite you to send in your comments, post your comments, and as you see me, I keep every now and then, you'll see me looking down. And what I'm doing is I'm going looking at our Facebook page so that I can respond to your comments. So post your comments, and those of you that are watching on television, call in and share your messages with the world. Today, as I said, today is April the 27th, and we are blessed that we're going to do something that we haven't done in a while. And what that is we have some guests in the studio tonight, and I call them guests. They're really not guests because they have been in the studio, been on the show several times in the past. So what we'll do is we'll just welcome them back. To my immediate left, we have Brother Robert Robertson, published author Robert Robertson. Good evening, brother.
How you doing, brother?
All right, and to his left, we have Bishop Wendy Meat, also the pastor of Imani Temple here in the city of New Orleans. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, tonight we are going to do something just a little bit different. And what you see me doing now, just trying to make sure that we have our Facebook straight. We're going to do something a little bit different, and what we're going to do different is, instead of our usual announcements, we're just going to go straight into our discussion. Mm-hmm. And our discussion tonight is going to be on Neanderthals. Mm-hmm. Okay, Neanderthals and the migration. Mm-hmm. And when we're talking about Neanderthals and the migration, we are really speaking about tracing that. And tracing that, let me turn this down a little bit, tracing that to the development of religions and religious beliefs.
Yeah.
So we're going to just open it up now, and either one of you gentlemen want to start the discussion?
When you look at the history of humankind on Earth, you know, I look at it in a spiritual sense, where, like you say in your opening, everything that has been, that is, and that always has been and always ever will be, was made by God.
All right.
That's true. Very true. I believe that with all my heart, because everything that's here was created in heaven first, mm-hmm. and it had to be incarnate into the flesh. Now, in order to be on Earth, mm-hmm. you know. So the thing is, when you look at other species that came through the spiral of life. And the spiral of life is mentioned in the ancient spirituality as the spiral that life comes through to get to Earth. Now, once these were created in the heavens first, then they were incarnated through the spiral to come to Earth. Now, you had 7 different species of man, of hominid, starting with Australopithecines, that came through that spiral and came to Earth to be developed. And each one that came, the other one went extinct before it got here. Now, all of these creatures, all of these hominids, subhumans, because they weren't totally human, they were subhuman. By the time it reached Homo habilis was so successful, it stayed around for a while. So when Neanderthal came through, Neanderthal was successful as well, because Neanderthal began to coexist and mix with Homo habilis. Now, you see the migration of hominids into other regions of the earth. You had 4 avenues out of Africa. Science tell you they got 3, but they had 4. Because during that time they had a deep ice age on the earth that reduced the sea levels dramatically. Now, you had the bridge at Djibouti, between Djibouti and Arabia, right there in the south. Then you had the land bridge right there at Egypt into Israel, what they call the Gaza Strip. Then you had the other one right there at the Rock of Gibraltar. You know, now nobody talk about the one that was right there at Tunisia that connected Africa to the islands of Cyprus, Crete, and all the way into Italy. Nobody talk about that. That was a land bridge. And if there was a gap, it wasn't that much of a gap. You could float on a log right to the other side.
All right.
You see.
All right. So now we've gotten in there. As you saw me, jotting down some notes here. A number of topics, and starting really with this concept of something being incarnate. So we got all the way from incarnate, the concept of there being an existence that's incarnate, all the way up to a land bridge. So that's a whole lot of space. There's a whole lot of space. We're going to go into that. Viewers, the show is an hour, so we can take our time tonight. As I stated earlier, and viewers, we're a little different as far as the format. Our regular callers that call in with our announcements, we're not going to go into that tonight because of technological issues changing the set around. So we won't be able to get a chance to get into that tonight. So our discussion tonight, we're going to take up this whole hour. So we won't be as rushed, and we can get into some detail. And viewers, let me just, I want to put everything in context and frame things that there's a lot of, I'm not going to say minutia, but there's a lot of details that we'll discuss tonight. And all those details in the context being framed in the purpose of this show, and the purpose that I reminded all of us at the very beginning, the purpose is to deliver the message that there is an almighty being, almighty. So when we get from existence being incarnate, and we go through those different stages of development of hominids, ending up to where we are now, all of that testimony to the power of that almighty being. So Bishop Mee, before you address the issue that we're talking about tonight, why don't you tell us a little bit, and I apologize, I really should have done this earlier, and let everybody, let both of you gentlemen just a little bit of your background. I guess y'all have been on the show so often that, but just to start off, Bishop, why don't you just give us a little...
I would suggest, since Brother Robinson spoke, let him tell them who he was so they can understand where the information came from.
I'm Robert P. Robinson. I'm a former teacher and an author. I've written 10 books. And I'm currently writing another one. And you may have heard me on other programs, but that's just about it for me, because I'm shy.
Yeah.
I'm a shy
person. I know, and you can speak this whole hour. That's how shy you are. All right. But before you start, Bishop, before you start, I see we do have a call. Let's get that call in, and then we come back with Bishop Wendy Mee. Yeah, caller, are you there?
How you doing? This Minister Antoine Brown.
Oh, good evening, Minister Brown. I'm glad you called in. How you been?
Glad I called in too for prayer.
Yeah.
Let everybody know to keep on praying for me. Keep on overflowing their prayers over my life, because that's the way we ought to be in this generation of a nation of a world today. Instead of fighting up against the devil, like have called it in your life, on your program. And yes, I do love what I had. A TV show that comes on at 8:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. on channel 76 Cox Cable every Monday. And I want to say God bless you. God bless you all. And still pray for me until I get my keys in my hands, man, because you just don't know.
Oh, I was about to ask you. I was about to ask you about that. How's the housing situation coming?
I didn't pay for everything. It's just the guy. I don't know what's the hold up with my keys, and the devil is busy.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to be here in New Orleans, or are you going to be in New Orleans or Baton Rouge?
Supposed to be in Baton Rouge.
Okay. All right. And how about your health? How's your health holding up?
That's why I say keep me in your prayers over that situation. I need prayers over my life each and every day.
All right.
Thank God.
You'll definitely do that, brother.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you for calling in, Minister Brown.
All I can do is say thank God for life and thank God for the overflow of what I can do.
All right.
So far.
All right.
While I'm out.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right. That's Minister Antoine Brown. We're going to make sure that we keep him in our prayers. All right, Bishop.
All right. Bishop Wendy Mee is a name that was given to me when I went to Africa, but my slave name is Bernard Waters. I pastor the Minor Temple number 28 of the African American Catholic Congregation. And, you know, I come on this show because, especially with Brother Robinson, because he's so knowledgeable and there's a lot to be learned. And as I've been on the continent twice last year and just researching, and every time you think you found something and something else come up and something else, and they have so much information out here, you don't know what's the truth. And I had been hearing some information, and we spoke about Neanderthals and the, you know, what Neanderthals are and the existence of them. And then I was checking some stuff out. One, well, Dr. Booker T. Coleman, and he was talking about scientifically, and he was talking about DNA. And we know that DNA is so powerful that they're releasing brothers out of jail. So anytime they're releasing brothers out of jail, these people believe in DNA because we know that they know them brothers was innocent when they put them in jail. And so here we go. So then I was just checking out some things on history and all that TV, and it was showing the Neanderthal population and the migration of them. And from a DNA perspective, they showed that Neanderthals never was actually in Africa. Never. But that you have two species of people mostly that have the Neanderthal trait in them, and that's the European, the Caucasian, and the Asian. And the Caucasian have about 11%, and we wonder why they do what they do. But that's why. 11% of them is non-human, and the Asian 8%. And when they show the migration, they show the migration from I was just looking at it, from Europe to Asia, but that's it. No other population had that. So, and of course they talked about the third ice age, over 20,000 years living in caves and being pushed further and further back, and temperatures from 600 to 800 below zero, and what kind of stuff went on and how that kind of people evolved. And you know, with animals and stuff, and we know that when we was young, we used to hear a lot of stories about animals, people using animals for pleasure. And so all these things, and it was
just look, people having sex with animals.
I mean, you know, I didn't want to be disrespectful on your show, but since we had talked about this several times, I told you that I would like for us to sit down together, because I'm just a student, and you know, like Brother Robinson say, he's written 10 books. He on his 11th. He's well researched and everything, but one thing that I find, even as being a preacher for 17 years, I have preached some things that I had to come back and say, you know what, I understood it this way, but it really, we was fooled, we was bamboozled, we was hoodwinked, we was cable told, and I found out these things to free the great prophet Bob Marley say, emancipate yourself from anti-slavery, for none but ourselves can free our mind. And so that's the thing, that when you're seeking the truth, it's hard.
All right.
Because there's a lot of information out here.
All right, and on that note, the amount of information that's out here, we do have a caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. That sounds like Brother Chris.
Yes, it is.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine. I'm being blessed
All right.
each and every day.
Mm-hmm.
God put us,
This in Africa.
God put
I
us
love her,
on
you
a-
know.
to pray with people
Let me explain what.
and for people. And that's what I'm doing with my prayer line.
All right. All right.
Prayer line is an awesome prayer line. I mean, yesterday. And
It's supposed to
I thank God every day of my life.
See right there.
All right.
That's
All
one,
right.
two.
All right, Brother Chris. I want, as always, I want to thank you for the work that you continue to do out here in the community. And you heard Brother Chris just now speak about the prayer line. Brother Chris operates not only a prayer line, but Bible study, cope line, meditation. And I don't have the dates and times now because we didn't get a chance to put them on the screen because we didn't do our announcements. But the phone number for Brother Chris, for the prayer line, the cope line, the Bible study, the meditation, the phone number is 504-866-5042. See, after all these years, Brother Chris, see, I have it memorized. 504-866-5042. Do you have anything else you want to share with us, Brother Chris?
Yes. I'd like to tell the people to drink water and stay dehydrated.
All right. All right. That's
First thing for people to do, drink lots of water and stay dehydrated.
all right. All right, brother. Thank you, Brother Chris.
Okay, God bless.
Thank you. All right. All right. One of the things that when we do the show and when we have the announcements up and put everything up on the screen, one of the things that we always do is we remind folks to prove all things. Okay, prove all things, coming out of the book of Thessalonians. Prove all things. So in our discussion tonight, is good with all of the knowledge and information that you all have and that we are sharing is good. Whatever sources that we have, if we can share that with our viewers. Bishop, I heard you speak about, I think, Dr. Coleman.
Yeah, Booker T. Coleman.
Booker T. Coleman. All right. So those of you that have Google, you can just Google Booker T. Coleman. Again, that's one of the great things about living in this time and age.
There's another one that you could Google it too. Is Sheik Ante Joke.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's CHEIK ANTE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean ANTA DIOP.
Right.
Look at his video.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we discussing here tonight, he's discussing.
Right.
You know, that brother. See, he was he was a revolutionary in Senegal, and he was expatriated from Senegal into France, and he went to France and into college in France, and he took up anthropology, and with another African, Obenga, I think his name is Obenga, they found that the ancient civilizations in the Sahara, the ancient how Egypt was formed, and that at one time Egypt was totally African, and then he showed how all of the species that was incarnated into Africa went extinct, and how many of them migrated out of Africa.
Yeah.
Now, going back on what Brother Me had referenced, see, Neanderthal did incarnate into Africa.
And let me just slow down for a second. Okay, we've used that term, and I know we've talked, and explained it before on other shows, but for tonight's purpose, if we could just refresh ourselves and our viewers, when we say Neanderthal, what is that, Neanderthal?
Neanderthal is one of the. He's a humanoid. He's in a family of Homo sapien, and let me back up even more. What's a humanoid? A humanoid is a ape-like man,
Well, wait,
See.
we're not talking about evolution now, huh?
Yeah.
We talking about evolution?
We talking about evolution.
Uh-oh.
Well, that's what incarnation is, evolution.
Yeah, all right. So now we didn't open up something. All right.
See, at one time, brother, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was an atheist,
All right.
and I studied science just to debunk God.
All right.
And guess what happened?
You believed in God.
God tapped me on the shoulder.
All right.
Here I am.
Let's delve a little more.
So
into
when
that.
I say evolution, I'm talking about incarnation, because He created all things.
All right.
So the thing is,
incarnation, incarnate.
that gone from the spirit to the flesh.
Wait a minute now. Hold on. We got to get into that a little bit deeper. So changing from something that's unseen into something that's seen.
That's seen. Exactly.
From the spirit. So that sounds like something in the Bible. Talk about the spiritual man and the carnal man. That's the carnal man.
Yeah.
All that stuff's related. Bishop.
And all of that is in
Bishop,
the ancient spirituality.
But that's where they get it from.
Now, see what Brother Me was saying about the DNA.
Right.
When God created us, guess what He left in us? Some of His DNA.
All right.
Makes us gods.
All right. Now
We got God in us.
So now we got DNA we're talking about spirit. So now we got all this stuff is coming together. All right, Bishop.
Where the Bible tell you that?
right.
In Psalms 82 and 6,
Yeah.
it say that we are God. And when the Pharisees challenged Jesus, Jesus asked this one distinct question. He said, isn't it written in your law that you are gods? And so what people do, people misunderstand the word God. The word God is not the name of the Most High.
No.
The word God only means one who lords over many.
Right.
And that's why we use God in the sense, in the small g, to say that's us, because you the God of your house. You rule over your children. Then the Most High God rules over what they call us, His children. So He ruled over the world with us being His children. So when you start telling people that, they say, "Oh, that's heresy and stuff." But what that tell you is people are understudied. Now, I can't, Brother Robson is well more studied than I am, but I am coming along and I'm learning, and I like to dialogue, not debate. I like to dialogue because I'm learning.
Yeah.
And now what they were showing is now they did migrate, but they didn't migrate as Neanderthals. That happened. That process happened. What I was involved in, what I saw, once they got into Siberia and stuff like that in the cold places.
Okay, so now, see, because I'm slow.
No.
I'm slow, so I got to back up. So we have, this is way before, what you all are talking about now is way before men like you and I.
Right.
Okay, so this is something before that.
Right.
So we had, we call them Neanderthals, and before Neanderthals, there was some other creatures.
Yeah.
Now is that
us?
You know, you had two distinct species of man on Earth during I'll say around 150, 300,000, because Neanderthal was around all the way to 30,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing is, until they died out, until we replaced them, you know, through mixture. Now, the thing is, that wasn't supposed to be. You know, now, in the early migrations, it wasn't like migrations for us as a people, it was journeys to discover
And explore
the world.
Yes.
It was it was exploring.
Mm-hmm.
We ran into them. You see what I'm saying? That's what I talk about in this book. We ran into them.
so? What happened to the monkeys?
Well, the monkeys were monkeys. You know,
See, that's where all that Planet
See-
Ape stuff come from and stuff. That's
the thing
different,
is,
yeah.
when God put his hands on us to form us, he left himself in us. That's why we were
Well,
more
is God in the-
intelligent than the rest of the
Well,
animals.
is God in the monkeys?
No.
Okay.
No.
I kind of
But he's created.
I differ on that. I differ, not like, okay, because in Jeremiah 31 to 34, God said that his desire is to dwell in the inward part of man, period, in the inward part of man. But if you go back to Genesis, the first chapter in Genesis, it says when God breathed life and everything became living. So everything that exists have some of God in them, and that's the ruah, the breath
Yeah.
of God, but not the spirit of God.
Right.
That's where it differs
I
at.
agree.
The breath of God, but not the spirit of God. But we actually have the spirit of God, not around us,
Right. I
not
agree.
around the corner. When you enter into the room, if you're supposed to be the saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost-filled person, God just came in the room.
Yeah.
Well, how about folks that's not saved,
Yeah.
sanctified, and Holy Ghost?
They still got the breath of life in them. The breath of life, in Ecclesiastes 12 and 7, it says, for the body will go back to the dirt from where it came, and the spirit, the breath, goes back to God from where it came. God breath, and when I tell people that, oh no, if you're a sinner, everything that have breath have some of God in them. But don't confuse. That's where, see, this is how they try to confuse us. They talk about the soul, the flesh, and the spirit, which the soul, if you look up soul, it's hard to distinguish soul. So the soul is actually the actual spirit of God that abides in us. Obviously the flesh is, and so we've been taught by the enemy, so they taught us wrong. See, the enemy don't want you to know who you are.
All right. I want to, viewers, again, I encourage, this is an open discussion. So if you have, if you want to join in, if you have some
I'm
information,
learning from you.
call in, and our Facebook viewers, you can text your comments so we can get you involved in this conversation. I'm sorry, Bishop, continue.
No. And like, I'm in agreement with Brother Rob. We are it. And so when you look at, so what's the image and likeness of God? So we hear that a lot in Genesis. But has it ever been explained to you? And you know why it have never been explained to you? Because they don't want you to know. Because it's that simplistic that they don't want you to know. So they want you to keep thinking that you have to depend on them. Now, how are people, I was asking Brother Robson this, he talked about Cyrene, Cyprus, and all that stuff. Now, if you look in the book of Acts in 11th chapter 19 verse, it say people from Cyrene and Cyprus went to Greece to teach them the way of the law. Well, then how now we talking about the Greeks say? Now, when the student became the teacher, and how the teacher became the student, how that happened? Who penned hit the paper is the story that's being told, and that's what we're talking about with the research and understanding. That's why the most important scripture I ran into when I was in this quest, because I wanted to be like the man on the corner with all that loud, pretentious praying and all that, because I thought that was godly, opposed to understanding the Spirit of God have nothing to do with that, because Jesus in Matthew 23 talked about that, about them broadening their phylacteries and wanting to sit in places of high. But anyway, so when we look at all these things, the image and likeness of God is spirit and love.
You're coming.
We spirit like God, and we love as God loved us.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just that simplistic. I'm gonna shut up now.
And see, those were the tenets of the ancient spirituality. Now, when you look at it in the principles of the ancient spirituality, when you say the Ak, Ka, Ba, the Ak is the light. That's God.
And for our viewers that want to be able to follow along and do their own research on this, which is speaking about now, where can they find more information about that ancient spirituality? Through the internet. You could get it from there. Just look up the ancient spirituality.
Yeah.
Now, Gerald Massey has a large volume out, and he was an 18th century writer, early 18th century.
Do they speak about some of that in the Book of the Dead?
He was talking about that.
But that's where it all starts.
See, in the book of
that's the genesis of
the
it.
Fourth, they talk about it. Now,
but it's not the Book of the Fourth either. It's not the Book of the Dead. They call it that because they didn't understand. It's called the Book of Day and Night. But the Book of the Fourth, the Book of Day and Night. The Book of the Dead, they call it that because they couldn't comprehend it, so they tried to kill it. I'm sorry,
see, the ancient spirituality didn't have a name.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now, brother.
When we refer to Ma'at, a lot of people don't mention voodoo.
Come on now.
You see, now Ma'at.
Wait a minute, hold on. See, you're trying to slip something in there. Voodoo. You talking about voodoo?
Yeah, it's voodoo. Yeah.
All right.
They changed it to voodoo, but it's voodoo.
All right.
You see, you looking at attributes of the ancient spirituality.
Right.
Now, Ma'at is the universe. Voodoo is nature. Getting with nature or feeling the power of nature itself. Herbs, cooking, making clothes, making pottery. All of that comes from the earth.
And that they relate to what they call animism, and related to any of that?
Animism derived from that. Okay. See, a lot of the things that we're talking about tonight, all of the religions, all of your major religions, that's why at one time I used to be critical of these religions, but I'm not. Because they are all products, they dipped from the well of the ancient spirituality. You see, and they took attributes to identify them in a geopolitical way. That's what religion is.
Well, knowledge is power?
Knowledge is power. Now the thing is, when you look at the ancient spirituality, I don't believe it in the sense that of the Egyptian spirituality.
Far before the Egyptians.
I look at it from the ancient prehistory spirituality, because that's where it was the purest.
Come on now.
And the thing is, when you look at when God revealed himself to man, he revealed himself through the light. And Ak, AKH, means light. Ka, Ka, that's the spirit. Ba is the soul. Ba is the soul. When you pass, that's why Ma'at holds that feather. Your soul has to be as light as the down of a feather. You know how you take the down of a feather
You can
and
just
release
float.
it, and it'll stay right there in the air. You see, your soul has to be light as that feather in order for your ba to return to the ka.
Well, wait a minute. There's some scriptures we was reading a couple weeks ago that was something in order to live you got to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not I live that is crazy.
Yeah, you don't die, you transition.
Yeah.
You don't, nobody never died.
That to become light, you take and drop all this
Darkness.
baggage
Right.
and come to your essence,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
in unity
Because
with all.
if you heavy with all of the materialism
now.
of this earth,
Come on now.
you'll never see
All
the
right.
kingdom again.
All right.
You'll never see the Father. You'll never be with him again.
All right, you look.
You see?
I thought this was the man that said he was shy. Go ahead, Bishop.
Well, I'm shy about me. I don't like talking about myself, you know?
As Brother Robinson is speaking, and I go on record saying I agree with every last word he said. And when we start talking about, now you have to remember, there was no place called Egypt in ancient Babylon, whatever you want to call it. Egypt derived from the Greek, not the Greek, from the Arabs. Ethiopia, there wasn't a place called Ethiopia. Ethiopia is Greek.
Yeah.
So it was just like this cross here is called a cross of Agadas. Agadas is a small country. But the circle represent when the continent was one. Before interference, like Brother Robinson said, before we wasn't killing up each other and all that. We lived in peace. And if we did have a disagreement, you remember when this breakdance stuff, nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
How the break dancers, that's how they used to
That's how
challenge
they
each other.
battled,
In
right.
tribal dance,
Yeah.
whoever won the dance won the war, and everybody went home alive. Just say so. We don't talk about. But anyway, I was reading in the Mayat. They have 3 42s. They have what's called the 42 laws of the Mayat. They have the 42 divine principles of the Mayat, and then they have the 42 ideas of the Mayat. And then so, of course, I Googled, well, why 42? But then 42 is known to be a number of purity. See, they said you that 8 or 7 is a number of completion and 8 is a number. That's for them. Here we go. When we was all coming up as kids, they told us, and we fell for it because our grandparents and them, that the earth was 8,000 years old. But historically, the Europeans have been around about 8,000 years. But they have found bones and stuff of our people that date over 1 million years. So we've been here. We not new here. So what we done before they came, they traveled from Greek and all them places. As I say, first we went up there and taught them, then they came down to Libya and all that stuff to learn. Once they learned, they took over. See, people don't know this. If you wasn't a true-blooded 100% African, you couldn't be a bishop. You couldn't be a minister. You had to be 100. But one sellout ordained one European, and they took over it like they do everything else. That's the truth.
Right.
So we don't talk about-
Their names, so if our viewers, that European.
You know what? I could get the names,
Yeah,
but
all right, then
it escaped me at this moment.
All right.
I'm taking, but this is all factual information.
All right, yeah, and I'm just.
I know, because when you put information out, you have to validate the information, or you just as bad. But I'm saying, if you go in the Maya and you start doing the ideas, if you look at, let me just
And that
write
Maya
quickly.
for our viewers, that's spelled M-A-A-T?
Yeah, and look, I will not do wrong. I will not steal. I will not act with violence. I will not kill. I would not be unjust. I would not cause pain. I would not waste food. I would not lie. I would not desecrate holy places. I would not speak evil. I would not abuse my sexuality. I would not cause the shedding of tears. I would not sow seeds of regret. I would not be an aggressor. I would not be guiltful. I would not lay waste to plowed land. Now, what that sound like?
That's
Go ahead. What does it sound like?
I think I think that predates Moses going up on the
Let me
mountain.
tell you something. Over 5,000 years before Moses, if there ever was a Moses, because we still can't prove that Moses existed. So if there ever was a Moses, this was over 5,000 years before. And I ask people this question, okay, you say the law was given to Moses. Well, why Moses and his brother was wanted, one for murder and one for thievery, 50 years before the law was given to Moses?
Yeah.
Well, how they was going to be wanted for murder and how he was going to be wanted for theft if they didn't have a law?
Yeah.
So it just all been, let
And
me
if-
tell you
and if
something, the
Moses-
best place to hide something is right in front of you,
and if
because you
Moses-
never suspect it.
If Moses was educated in Egypt, he knew about the 42
Thank you.
affirmations of my
Oh, when I
Thank
say,
you.
wait, hold on now, because I every now and then I got to step back and slow down a minute, because I think I heard you say, if he was educated in Egypt, and I know you said that rhetorically,
Hmm.
because all the information that we have about Moses says he was educated in Egypt and had the best education because he was raised as the son of Pharaoh.
Now they had some reference in a temple that they found with Moses' name on it,
Hmm.
and that he was an architect. That he stammered when he talked, and he was very, very bright.
Hmm.
And but he was an architect, and he couldn't be part of the dynasty because he was the king's illegitimate
Well,
son.
see, that's the story. See, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Because if he was Hebrew and they was white, then how you gonna
He
sneak?
wasn't Hebrew.
No, but I'm saying that's what they say. But how you gonna sneak
That's
a
a
black
good question.
person?
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
they just history. Yesterday, history
I
had
got what-
history all day had stuff about Egypt and history. People don't know that they had a black queen of the land 5,000 years before Cleopatra. I forget her name, but it was on Discovery TV yesterday.
Yeah, I know you're
And
talking about.
all the figures they showed about Egypt and the kings and all that before interference was all black people.
Yeah.
And so again, how you gonna take? That's like me taking a young white kid, bringing him in my house and saying, "Man, that's my son."
Yeah.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, you're gonna say, "Nah, if I adopt
There's
him."
all kind of things I was
Yeah.
thinking about saying just now.
But if I
You check your
adopt
mail,
him,
check your mail, man.
if I adopt, if I adopt him, of course he's my son through adoption.
You know how the royalty was passed down in Africa. Only the sister's son could be a king. You see, and his sister had to sit by next to him as his queen, but his wife had to stand behind him.
All right.
Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, he was having sex with his sister." No, that was not true, because the bloodline was carried through the mother. Because our culture is matrilineal. It's not patrilineal.
You know,
Everything has to pass through the mother.
Right. Now, you know, one thing, and we're getting a little bit close to the end now, but I just want to take and go in a slightly different direction. And that slightly different direction is we've been talking for the past 15, 20 minutes or so and focusing on Moses and Egypt. And now we kind of slipped in a little reference to Africa. And, you know, of course, Egypt sits on the African continent, the northeast portion of the continent, but there are other African civilizations that were not Egyptian. And the concept right now, I guess, from looking at movies and all the rest of this stuff, the concept that we have of Egyptians being something distinctly different from, say, Africans in sub-Saharan Africa or on the west coast of Africa. But as we've studied and read about the development of religion in the area of Egypt, there were civilizations that existed on the African continent in the other areas of the African continent, again, Western Africa, Sub-Saharan
I tell you what, I'm not a respecter of Egypt. You know, now I know that before Egypt was Egypt, it had three other names. It was Anu, it was Uazit, then it was Kemet. They were all three African, purely African people. But once it became Egypt, it started selling out.
Yeah, the Romans. That's
You see,
Roman stuff.
now-
all the
now-
information come out there. Egyptology, that's all Roman control. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now the thing is, you know, were it not for Egypt preserving a lot of the history, we would have never found the Norma Palace.
Yeah, and what you call him tell you that. Dr. Yasser Ben Yakamai.
Yeah.
He tell you that they try to destroy. But here's
You
the
said
deal.
the normal palette.
The Norma Palette is Narmer Palette.
Now here you don't hear
That's
about
where they
this.
talk about
Who was the
that.
richest man ever to live on the planet Earth?
I don't know.
Mansa Musa.
Mansa Musa.
Now, where Mansa Musa come from?
And spell that so for our viewers or for me. Mansa Musa.
Yeah, I got it in here.
All right.
It's M-A-N.
There you go. See, that's
it.
the writer.
M-U-S-A.
He threw the whole Ethiopian
Yeah.
economy off because on one pilgrimage he gave away over $100 million in gold.
In gold.
He was worth over $500 billion.
Yeah.
Now, he come from the West. He was the
He was from
king.
Mali.
Yeah, Mali,
Yeah.
but it was called at that time the Ghanaian province. Don't confuse it with Ghana. Because not where the country Ghana, the Ghanaian province was Mali, all the way to Timbuktu, and
What was their religion?
well, he the one that converted them to Islam.
to Islam.
But
Okay,
before
so this is,
Islam, there was because Christianity, they knew that was a bastard religion that just was the people imposed. But here we go. Let me just finish this point right quick. So what used to happen is trade used to come through there, through the Ghanaian province. That's why most people don't know. The first university was in Timbuktu, was in the Ghanaian province. They used to travel through there to the Niger River, and they used to ship goods up the Niger River, and people from what you call Egypt used to come to the Sahara Desert to get goods from them from the West. See, these stories are not told. This stuff, they make everything about that one place. Why? Again, because when you start talking about Egypt, you're talking about Roman controlled, and all the information disseminated from there is controlled by the Romans. And so, again, the only place on the planet they have autology is Egypt, because it's what they created. But when you start looking historically, we traded with each other, we bartered, we did up the Niger River. They make it look like the Nile River was the only river of importance. But what about the Niger River? What about where this was a bustling economy? That was before the Europeans was in there stealing all the gold and sending it out. Mansa Musa controlled, basically, the area that he controlled was full of gold.
Yeah.
And that's what made him so rich.
Yeah.
And he was a man of a good heart, that he shared it amongst the people. Hear these things.
Yeah.
One for a future discussion, I'd like for us to look at, and viewers, you might want to do a little research of your own. We've talked about religions and ancient religions in Egypt, but we really want to have a discussion about ancient religions and spirituality in, again, the southern part of the African continent, the western part, and going before Islam, going before Christianity. What what religions, what ideas existed before then. That's one future topic. Because we're getting about another 3 minutes in the show. That's one future topic, and another future topic is why is, and you brought up something just now as far as gold. Why is gold so important?
Yeah.
Why is gold so important? What is so intrinsically? Why is it so intrinsically?
It was
valuable?
important to the European. It wasn't important to Africans.
Well, is there? I'm just gonna drop something. I'm just gonna drop a little nugget where I'm heading with this when we have this discussion a little later on. That when we talk about some of the properties of gold and its ability to transmit energy, does that have anything to do with why historically it's been such a valuable commodity? But we have about 2 minutes left in the show. So, gentlemen, if you get 30 seconds, and then I'll get a minute to close this out.
Okay, we have to ask ourselves. They say Africa is the poorest continent. You know, I've been over there. I was over there 7 weeks. But anyway, but they got 7 gold mines. None of them mined by traditional African people. They're all mined by the Europeans. They're shipping it out, sending it back in, and it's very expensive. So they're still raping the continent, still raping it of its diamonds, still raping of all its minerals and everything. Africa is still the most giving continent on the planet to today.
And Imani Temple 28 is located where?
2411 Treasure Street.
2411 Treasure.
Yes.
And the hours?
10:30 a.m., 5 o'clock p.m., Tuesday's Bible study.
All right. Brother Robinson?
We should get back to the ancient spiritual, our original spirituality, because the religion that we believe in called Christianity, it came from the ancient spirituality.
And you can go on Amazon.com and you can find the books that have been authored by Brother
The Tragedy
Robinson.
of Robert Charles and all of that.
All right. As we wrap up, we got less than a minute. Everything that you heard tonight, no matter how diverse it might have seemed, one purpose. And you heard about all these things that have been going on throughout the millennia. One purpose, that it might seem disjointed, but there is a force that's in charge of all of this. The hominids, the Neanderthals, and even us today that think we're so modern, but 2 million years from now, we will be something ancient. As we wrap up tonight, as always, I pray that being that I'll call God, may he bless you and yours with peace.